So today I want to talk about something that I've been struggling with a lot recently, and I think a lot of young Christians probably struggle with this too. And it's essentially just the idea of sharing your faith, sharing the gospel whenever you don't have it all figured out either. Like you're not some pastor, you didn't go to Bible school. And even if you did, there's that level of like, I don't know all the answers. So I think a lot of Christians let that stop them from obeying God whenever he told us to go and make disciples and preach the gospel. And so I've been making videos on YouTube for almost a year now, which is insane to think about. And it just started by me going to the Bible for wisdom. I shared this before. I'm 22 years old. I'm married, and then my wife and I got pregnant in July of last year. And whenever we got pregnant, I started really turning to the Bible for answers in terms of like how to better myself, how to be a better husband, how to be a father that my son can look up to and stuff like that. So it was really like me turning to the Bible like a self-help book. And this was before I was truly living for God. But in the process of me turning towards the Bible and reading it for what I can get out of it, I ended up giving my life to Christ and building a relationship with him rather than just extracting information from the Bible and applying it to my life. And so now I'm at a point where, I'm making these videos, but I still don't have it all figured out. I'm that same guy who just turned to the Bible to start getting knowledge to apply to my life. The only difference now is that I have experienced God and know what it means to have a relationship with him. And so the question becomes, am I the right person to be making these videos? Across my entire channel, I have, I think, 500,000 views on these videos. And I don't want to be leading anybody in the wrong direction. And then, that's of course not my heart intention. But still, there's that fear of, am I doing the right thing? Do I have to have it all figured out? I haven't even read the Bible cover to cover, and I'm getting on here making these videos. And so I kind of felt like I was being a hypocrite in some ways by sharing what the gospel says about certain topics, but not being able to debate somebody on every single topic in existence when it comes to the Bible or something. And I don't think that God necessarily requires us to be able to defend the entire Bible or be able to have all the verses memorized before we can go out and lead others to him. And so I have three main topics of what I want to kind of talk about with what the Bible says about this, or what we can learn from the disciples um, in their life as well. So the very first thing is just simply that Jesus called everyday people. He did not call, the Pharisees or the preachers or pastors only. Jesus calls all of his believers to spread the gospel, to go and make disciples, not just official pastors and stuff like that. So we know that we should do it, but what holds us back is, well, I'm not a preacher. I don't have all the qualifications, stuff like that. So then we take a look at who his disciples even were. I mean, Jesus is calling fishermen, like Peter, Andrew, James, and John were all fishermen that Jesus is just like, hey, come and follow me. And they left their careers and like went follow him as his disciple. And then they would go on to do these amazing things and lead others to him. And so just that fact alone should give us confidence that we don't have to be a certain person for God to use us. Matthew was a tax collector. Judas was probably some sort of businessman or something to do with like money and finances, because he kept the money bag, like he kept the books of their group to make sure that they were budgeting correctly and had enough money to do certain things. And so basically the idea is that Jesus didn't just call preachers and pastors, he called everyday folk. Even whenever, I think it was Peter and James, again, don't quote me on that, they were like being held at a court defending themselves, and the people inside the court were like, whoa, these guys aren't even trained scholars, they're just everyday people. But they were like, they were surprised and acknowledged the fact that they had a confidence that they were speaking with, and that was the authority of Jesus. Basically, all of that to say, we don't need to have it all figured out or come from a background of Bible knowledge, grown up in the perfect Christian family that taught us everything, or attended Bible college or something like that. in order to share the gospel with other people. And again, I'm a perfect example of this because I don't have it all figured out. In almost every single one of my videos, I'm constantly saying, go read your Bible for yourself because I don't truly have this all figured out. I'm just sharing what God's doing in my life. And countless of comments, hundreds, if not thousands of comments have come onto my videos talking about how your videos inspire me. I'm going to go read my Bible. Thank you for sharing this. I'm 65 years old and I never heard it said in that way. And people being led back to God, and I guess a fire sparking in their relationship with God. Not to put it all on myself because that's like the whole point, but like God working through me through these videos to reach these people. So I guess that's the better way of looking at it. It's not all about what you can do for God, it's what God can do through you. Another part, Philippians 1:15-18. This is basically Paul talking about how there were some people preaching Christ for the wrong motives, the wrong reasons, and then others preaching Christ for the right reasons and with the right motives. And basically what he's saying is, at the end of the day, Christ is being preached. And that's what I'm going to celebrate. That's what I'm happy to hear. He says in verse 15, it is true that some people preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. And I think what we can honestly take away from that is the heart of the message is they had people preaching, about God and preaching Christ with the wrong motives. And yet Paul is saying, I'm going to rejoice because Christ is being preached. And then I think about myself. I am trying to share this good news, share the things that I'm learning from the Bible with good intentions and genuine intentions, or at least I'm trying to. And Paul is saying, even the people that have the wrong intentions and do it knowingly so, at least Christ is being preached. So I'm thinking how much better for you and I to maybe make videos like this, or maybe tell somebody about Jesus that we come across, our coworkers or our family members or anything like that, with the right motives. How much better is that? I guess the way to put it is, again, God is not limited by who the messenger is, like through me or through you or through another person. What he's looking for is obedience. He told us to go and make disciples. Even if I don't have all the verses memorized, even if I don't even know a single word that it says other than the Gospels, and I've personally encountered Jesus, I'm going to go and share that. I mean, just take a look at all the people that Jesus healed, and then they went on and shared their testimony and shared what Jesus did for them. And then those other groups of people started following Jesus because of it. Like, for example, the woman at the well, who Jesus told this lady everything that happened in her life or whatever. She left and go back to her village and told everybody, I think I found the Messiah. Could this be the Messiah? He told me everything I've ever done. And just from that, people started following Jesus because of it. And so even if you don't have a miraculous miracle happen in your life, like I haven't necessarily, but I've experienced God. I've improved my life from reading the Bible and applying what it says, from growing a relationship with Jesus. I now have this peace that surpasses all understanding. I now have a hope for the future and all these different things. I'm going to share that. And hopefully, people will be led to God despite my lack of knowledge, despite my lack of teaching abilities, or the fact that I have to retry every word or every sentence basically that I say, trying to make videos because I suck at making videos. So yeah, you don't need to know everything. Just start by sharing what God's done in your own life. Why did you stop and turn from your old way of living? And why'd you start following God? Why'd you turn to the Bible? Why'd you turn to Jesus? And just share what that's been like for you. Share your relationship with others. Share the relationship that you have with God with other people. And I think through that act of obedience, that's what matters more than, for example, if I were to ever go to Bible college, learn all the facts in history, but my heart be in the wrong place when doing it. Even Paul is a perfect example. Paul wrote a big majority of the New Testament, and we read things that he wrote today. And that's a large portion of what our faith is built off of, or how to go about our faith. Well, even Paul was not the best person. He literally was throwing Christians in jail, persecuting Christians, going around, and that was his mission, thinking that he was doing it for God, calling out these fake Christians, or um, thinking that Jesus wasn't Lord, until he's had an encounter with God. Jesus spoke to him in this flash, and he's had this miraculous encounter. And then now he goes and proclaims that Jesus is Lord. Even that is a perfect example that it doesn't matter what you've done in your past, God can use you. Because it's not even about you, it's about God working through you, like I keep saying. So basically, I felt like I repeated myself this entire video, but that's just another example of God's not looking for perfection. I'm still going to post this video. I don't even know if this all made sense. The moral, or the point that I'm trying to get at, is that I think God would be more happy with obedience and our hearts being in the right place, rather than waiting until we have it all figured out, or know the most facts about the Bible, or have every debate topic dialed in to where no matter who comes to us, we can defend it. I think honestly, he would rather us just start sharing our own story, sharing our testimony, and leading others to him with the right heart intentions, rather than waiting until we have it all figured out. So maybe let this be your sign that if you've ever thought about starting a YouTube channel, or even just like talking to that coworker, or talking to that family member, like just like I was saying, go do that. You don't have to have all the answers right away, or whatever you feel like God is prompting you to do in your life. Faith, obedience, with the right heart posture, these are things that God's looking for, not perfection. And remember, it's not about what you can do for God, but what God can do through you. I hope this helps.